Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Good evening and welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. I'm excited to be back once again on Tuesday evening, have a chance to chat with another great business leader about some of their experience, about some of their leadership and some key things that can help you to become a better leader. I mean, at the end of the day, as a business owner, the key to your success is going to be your ability to lead your organization forward. And that's why we have these every week, to give you examples and ideas and strategies for being able to be a better leader, be a more successful business owner. So this week, very important topic. We're going to talk about basically the importance of community and connections. At the end of the day, some people say that your net worth is based on your network. And so, building relationships, building your network, building your community is a key success factor in any business. So today, our guest, Lucas Root, he's got a lot of experience in that area. And that's really one of the key things that has helped him to be successful. Like me, he had a multi-year corporate career. Spent time in the financial services side as well as other areas, but has also spent many years as an entrepreneur and business owner in different types of organizations. So more of a serial entrepreneur and having several businesses. So he's seen this from many different levels, and a big reason for his success has been his ability to make the important connections, build his community around him and around his business and what he's doing. So very excited to have Lucas Root as my guest tonight, and let me bring him on. Hey Lucas, how are you doing this evening?
Andrew, thank you for having me.
Okay, excellent. So definitely look forward to having a very important chat about some of the things that really are key and fundamental to people's success as a business owner. So definitely looking forward to that. Appreciate everybody tuning in as well. As we say, this is for you. So definitely feel free to comment if you have questions or whatever throughout the session. Love to hear from you and share. So Lucas, you're out there in sunny California. And it's still the afternoon for you, even though it's kind of dark and cold over here on the East Coast.
Yep.
But let's get started. First place to start is always good to just let people know a little bit about you and about your journey, sort of where you started, how you progressed, some of the key milestones and key learnings along the way. And then, we'll get into a conversation focused on the topic of this evening. Sound good?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, excellent.
I started out on Wall Street. I was on Wall Street for 17 years. I did mergers and acquisitions. I was on the back end of the merger. So somebody needs to figure out how to put the two new companies together into one company. And that was me, and it was amazing. It also, interestingly, was the antithesis of community, which has become a really powerful focus for me since leaving Wall Street. So 7 years ago, I was like, you know what, I'm done with this. I got to get out. So I decided it was time to sort of pull the plug on my Wall Street career and launch myself into my own consulting company. So 7 years ago, I started my consulting company. I landed my largest, best known client, and they are showcased prominently on the bookshelf behind me because for 7 years I've been working with them among other clients. But I've been with the Pokemon company now for 7 years, and it's been an amazing ride. And learning from Wall Street, bringing forward the experience that I had while I was on Wall Street, understanding the way that things actually work, right? Because when I was there and I was doing it, I really, and this is true of everyone. I thought I was the king of the world. I thought that I knew how to make things fit together. I thought I was the world's most brilliant strategist. And I was good, don't get me wrong, far from the world's most brilliant, though. I thought highly of myself. And what I've learned is that the things that work aren't necessarily processes and procedures. The things that work are the people. The things that make a company go, that make a company successful, are the people and the connections and the social equity in the community of the corporation, in the community of the product, and bringing the product to the users, right? That's all a community, and the social equity is the thing that made that powerful. And fortunately for me, I didn't ruin that while I was there moving pieces around. But I wasn't great at it when I was there. And when I left, I started really starting to understand how the people are the key and make it work. So as a consultant, I've been in a position where I've been able to really interact with a number of different businesses, different kinds of sizes. And again, Pokemon Company is huge, but I've worked with businesses as small as a few $1,000,000 in annual revenue, which may seem like a huge number, but trust me, in the business scale, that's a fairly small business. And starting to really get into, roll your sleeves up and get into the community and start to really help people fine tune the way that they make connections and how they build the equity inside the community, the equity of people who love each other, the equity of people who will show up and have each other's backs and make sure that success happens because of the community, not despite it. That has been an amazing journey. And I'm 7 years into my consulting. I'm 7 years into really deeply focusing on the people. And it's been a hell of a ride.
Okay, excellent. So, you said that coming from Wall Street and M&A, it was like the opposite of community. So what does that mean in your words?
Good question. A fun question. When you have pictures of what it's like to be on Wall Street, you have pictures of people that are doing drugs and peeing in a bottle and staying at their desk for 14 hours straight nonstop. And that's real. And that really does happen. That was not my world. Again, it really does happen. That's what the trading floor really is like. Again, that wasn't my world. For me, on the project side, it's still Wall Street. It's still cutthroat. It's still, truly cutthroat. It's still you succeed because of how hard you're willing to fight. And you're not fighting for the people you're standing next to. You're fighting for yourself and yourself alone. And to me, that's the antithesis of community. It really is the complete, pardon my language, that's the complete back-asswards approach of community. We need to succeed because of the people standing next to us. We need to succeed because we're amazing at supporting the men and women who choose to show up next to us. And in fact, when you look at successful businesses across the world, Wall Street draws enormous numbers, but their margins are small. If you look at other really cutthroat businesses, Amazon springs to mind. Amazon creates enormous numbers, but their margins are small. If you look at businesses that are really succeeding well, that's when things start to get exciting. And what you'll notice is the ones that are succeeding well, the ones with big margins are important because then when things go a little bit bad, they're still in the green. The ones with big margins typically are there because of the fact that they have community inside the corporation. They have people that are showing up to have each other's backs, not just getting a paycheck. They have people showing up because they love the people they work with and they love the product that they're serving and they love their customer.
Okay. So, so really, important piece of that is sort of the culture of your business, correct? And how does that relate to building community within your organization and between your team?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. So when you're working with your organization or that you're growing or your other organizations, how do you help them work on their culture? If you do, what sort of things do you work on them?
I like the redirect.
Okay.
I have come to realize that culture is the memory of community. Has been a really powerful realization for me. Culture is the memory of community, and the people that are focusing on culture, unfortunately, are focusing backwards.
Okay.
They're looking at the history. If you really want to make powerful change, what you need to focus on is the here and now. And culture isn't the here and now; it's yesterday. And it's permanently yesterday. It's what we remember of what worked. It's what we remember of how we did things. But the here and now, right now, the connections that we make, the way that we show up, the way that we support each other, that's community. It's not memory, it's live action.
Okay.
I have 5 points that I walk through in order to make sure that people are implementing community in a way that works. And I have no problem sharing those 5 points. If people start springing up and implementing community better, I will be delighted.
Okay. Excellent. So definitely we want to hear your five. You know, so I'll put you full size.
Awesome. Very quickly, and I'll go into a little bit more detail as well, but I'm going to run them. I'm going to run them right through so you see them. The 5 points are building a unique common language, and I'll talk about what that means. Having a purpose for the community that everybody understands, and subscribes to. They're in. Having projects that we engage in as a community, and now I can get into what that means, but it's not just showing up to work. Having a value that you show up for and that you contribute to, right? So you show up to receive the value, you also contribute value to the community. And then the fifth one is an interesting one that we don't have a good English word for this. So I call it common heart. And what I'm trying to convey with that common heart, and heart is probably the closest word we have for it, is you enroll in the community and you enroll the community in yourself. You care about the community and you accept care from the community. It's not just bean counters. If you miss a meeting, you were missed, not because somebody's checking your name off a checklist, but because people legitimately care that you're there. And finally, when you work for and through the community, you do your work with pride and honor. So jumping back to the top, the common language, this unique common language. So when you start thinking about the way that language shows up in a workplace, you're going to notice that people use acronyms and they start to. I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and he pointed out that what I'm talking about is actually language macros. So they start to use a single word or a very small phrase to refer to a story that happened inside the community, maybe a challenge that we all worked our way through, and we have a name for that challenge. And as soon as you have that name for that challenge and you start referring to that story, bringing it into our current present memory to be able to convey an idea, using those macros, those language macros, that unique common language makes communication much more than just simple. What I mean by that is with language, you can be simple. You can talk about your needs in the moment. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to get a bite to eat. I need to feel safe. I need an umbrella to shelter me from the rain. That's really simple communication. And there are lots of animals in the world that do that. In order for us to become a community, we're going to use language to increase the complexity of the ideas that we can share inside the community. And that's when things really start getting interesting. You see that as people are building that community equity inside a corporation. The macros, the way that they call stories and the way they tell their stories, the way they use their hands, it's amazing.
Okay. So that would sort of be like in the government, they have a million acronyms for everything that allows them to have a common language. Is that what you sort of talking about, or how would you describe that?
That's part of it. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely part of it. And then you go into a department in the government that's been together for a long time, and they'll start talking to each other and they'll refer to something, and you can tell that they mean something by that, but you don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like having an inside joke. It's really funny to the people that get it, and not funny at all. No, like that's unique common language.
Okay, excellent. So that's number one, right? So I'll let you go to number two.
We do a pretty good job in the US societally talking about how important purpose is. So I don't really need to bang my head against this particular wall. The thing is, though, in order for it to be a community, they have to all understand the purpose, and they all have to be subscribed to the purpose. Here's the challenge with most corporations. The corporation's purpose is to be profitable. Most of the employees are not subscribed to that purpose. That's going to be a really big challenge. So people start bringing in other things like talking about mission or vision or values, and all of that is important. But if it doesn't get you to subscribe to the purpose of the corporation, then you're not in community. You're out of community. People will show up, they'll get their paychecks, but they're not subscribed to the purpose. So you must either get people to subscribe to the purpose or change your purpose so that people will subscribe. They need to show up and feel like they're engaged. That's what community is.
Okay. So that's actually an area where small businesses sort of can have a big advantage.
Absolutely.
In the organization.
Huge.
Cool. So
much easier to roll something out, make some changes, pivot, have conversations at the ground level with every single person when there's 10 people versus 10,000.
Mm-hmm. So cool. Okay. So number three is, what do you have for number three?
Projects. I love this one. Projects could be anything from going to the beach with your coworkers or with some really good friends and spending some time at the beach, getting some hugs, and walking away at the end of the project feeling like you got something of value out of that. So the definition of a project and how it's different from purpose is projects are time bound, so they have a beginning and an end, and they have a specific deliverable. This is really important. It's important to keep in mind. In order for a community to truly be a community, they have to have projects that they engage with as a community. When you think back to, the old, early settler villages, barn raising was a project, right? Now, if we take the idea of barn raising, see, here I am establishing common language. If you take the idea of barn raising as a project and bring that into modern times, bring that into the workplace and say, what are we doing together that is time bound and has a specific deliverable and is in alignment with our purpose? What are we doing that's building up the community? Those are the projects that I'm talking about. Now, it could be training. It could be an engagement day where everybody gets together and they're engaged and they feel like they're becoming part of a community. Whatever it is that you're doing, you have to have these projects built in that continue to drive engagement, continue to drive creation of that unique common language, and continue to bring people into the purpose. Does that make sense?
Yes. So this time of year, a lot of companies have holiday parties. I guess that's
a great example of a project.
Okay, excellent. So doing things together outside of just working. So cool. Okay. No, definitely can make a big difference as far as relationships. Okay,
I
so
have.
what about,
I work with the Pokemon company, and one of the projects that I'm working on, the Pokemon company throws epic holiday parties. I was sitting down with last week. I was there, and I was sitting down over lunch with somebody, and I said, "How's this going to compare to the previous holiday parties?" Now, this guy's in his late 40s, early 50s. He said, "I don't know. I've never been to a holiday party." And I was like, "Wait, what? What? How is this? How is this like? How is it possible that?" And he's worked at more than one company throughout his career, and some of them big name. How have you never been at a holiday party? This can't be.
so yeah, he's missing out on important experiences.
Yeah.
So okay, so definitely the holiday party ways to connect. So what do you have for number 4?
Value. Value is interesting. It is common when we think about the workplace that we think about people showing up and getting paid, and that they're receiving their value. They got paid, and this is true. It is true. It is actually true. But let's remember that we don't live in a world where subsistence is baseline. We don't live in a world where people living paycheck to paycheck is actually the thing that they're worried about. Most of our employees are probably going to be fine if they just go next door and ask for the job that they lost with you. Subsistence is not the goal anymore, right? So the paycheck that you give them is part of what they need to receive, but it's not enough. So what I'm telling you isn't have values. What I'm telling you is look at the value that they receive by showing up, by subscribing to the corporation, by helping you build community, both inside your corporation and with your customers, all of the stakeholders, the community that you have. If they're getting just a paycheck, then it's really easy to replace that. If they're getting just a paycheck, then it's really easy for them to ignore it. Because this world is bigger than just a paycheck. The world that your employees live in, the world that you live in, the world that I want to live in is bigger than just a paycheck. So think about the value. Now, here are some value opportunities that I see often. Engagement. Projects are a good way to drive engagement, but they're not the only way. How often do you have a conversation with your employees about them as a person? Engagement. How often do you encourage your employees to have a meaningful relationship with their coworkers, the person sitting right next to them? Engagement. That value is something that keeps them showing up, not just showing up, but it keeps them showing up with their heart. Remember the next one. The intent and commitment to do the right thing, showing up and doing your work with pride and honor. The value is part of what makes it possible for them to really feel like they want to be a part of that community. That makes sense?
No, it makes sense. You probably remember the show Cheers,
I,
and that seemed like a community type atmosphere in terms of value. I always remember Norm. Whenever they came in, they'd yell his name, and,
yeah.
and even though it created value for people even without the monetary side. And,
Absolutely.
and
And what happens when he doesn't show up? He's missed.
yes,
Not because they're accountants, not because they're checking names off a list, but because they genuinely want him to be there. That's when you know you're really starting to drive that community value.
hmm and as a business leader, um, what are some ways to engage people around that? You talked about engaging, talking to them, other things. What can you get people within your organization to do to help create that as well?
Mhm. I'm going to answer that, but in a long way.
Okay.
And you might want to play with it. It's a fun one. So when the Apple company decided they were going to build their first big headquarters, they engaged in a process where they tried to re-engineer what is innovation. They tried to re-engineer it so that they could make sure that innovation happened inside their workplace. It took them years. But what they discovered was the best opportunity for innovation was for them to put the water cooler a long way away from where you sit and work. And this did two things. One, it's a relatively high lift for you to go to the water cooler. So when you get there, you're going to stay. You're going to enjoy your drink. Maybe you're going to fill up again before you go back to your desk. It's a high lift. It's a long walk. Because you're there, someone else who also had to walk a long way and is also going to stay, they're a little bit invested in being at the water cooler, is going to spend some time. And this forced it, and it was forced. It was engineered. It was 100% intentional, also brilliant. This forced environment of you're going to interact because you have nothing better to do and you're invested in being there. This forced environment actually created innovation that drove some of their best, most powerful market dominance positions.
Okay.
So we can take some of that away. We can say the result of that was, yes, they pushed the water cooler a long way, and that's annoying. But we can take this functionally instead and say, here are the things that worked. Number one, you have to be invested in an action. So people were invested in the action because it takes a long time to walk to the water cooler, but there are other ways to get people invested. Number two, you have to be in a low pressure environment interacting with somebody you wouldn't normally interact with. Interesting. How can we do that? Well, parties are a great example of how to do that. Parties are actually a perfect example of how to do that. And that's why holiday parties are so powerful. You're invested in it, right? You got dressed up, you took a cab because you know you're going to be drinking. So you're invested in being there. And it's also a low pressure environment where you're interacting with people you might not normally interact with. What if we do other versions of that exact same thing? What if we do a volunteer day where we show up and we're paid, right? So the boss is also invested because he pays for the volunteer day. What if we do a volunteer day where we show up and we encourage our customers to show up alongside us, and we do something that is not work, like Habitat for Humanity, or, go to a soup kitchen, who cares? Something where we're invested in being there and interacting with somebody we don't normally interact with. I bet, Andrew, that if corporations did exactly that, innovations would fly.
Okay. So, definitely, one thing that was key in organizations is what they call organizational silos, where, the marketing people only talk to marketing people and finance people only talk to finance people. And being able to get people within organizations, and it can even be a small organization, of a few people. If you let people sort of just be on their own and not part of the team, and not feel like they need to or should be part of the team, then that starts to divide your organization.
Yeah. Here's where I think that's breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
Outsourcing. I personally outsource my bookkeeping. I am owner or part owner in 6 different corporations, and I outsource the bookkeeping in every single one of them. First thing I outsource. It's the first thing I recommend people to outsource.
Okay.
Now, not only is bookkeeping siloed, it's an entirely separate company. They might not even be in the same state.
Or country.
I think it's safe to say bookkeepers were keeping in country.
Okay. All right.
But outsourcing presents a challenge. Here's a possible solution. But I'd like to invite your audience to have a think on this and write in and present some alternate solutions, some other ways that this could be brought in. Do a happy hour, and virtual happy hours work. And it's kind of a thing now. Do a happy hour and invite your vendors.
Mm-hmm.
Happy hour is relatively low lift. There's some investment. People are going to go get their favorite beer so that when they're sitting there chatting with their coworkers and vendors, they're drinking the thing they want to be drinking, right? So there's some investment. It's not huge, but it's some investment. So you're invested in being there. Relatively low lift. And you can manage it across all the time zones.
Okay. So yeah, definitely that. I work with a lot of, I guess, different people, but none of them are employees. So,
there you go.
but we have developed relationships because it's key because it definitely makes a big difference. So that's cool, and actually many of them have developed relationships on their own beyond just working with me. So it's added value all the way around. So
it's because of your virtual happy hours, isn't it?
Well, those can get kind of wild though, but but yeah, so that's cool. So we got a question from Dr. Michelle Scott. Actually, I think she's over in China, if I'm not mistaken, but here's the question. If we're interacting in different roles, she had someone who showed leadership qualities in Habitat for Humanity and learned her staff's different skill sets during the CSR initiatives. Okay. So that's a good example of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I'm a huge fan of CSR, which is social responsibility. I'm a huge fan of CSR when it's engaged with as a project. When I was on Wall Street, they had CSR, but they didn't engage with it. Occasionally you would have an opportunity for this, but for the most part, it was just go volunteer. We'll give you some paid days for it. And I'm like, I did it, of course. I didn't at that time, as I said before, I didn't know what I was missing out on. Now I do. Now I look back at that and I'm like, oh my God, like what an enormous missed opportunity. Like my management team should have been taking the whole team to do a Habitat for Humanity. Like they didn't get what Michelle just got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so definitely, building that community. And then you got number 5, the common heart. So talk a little bit more about what that is and and how that works.
Yeah. So the first 4, each of those can be engineered. It's really hard to just engineer those things in place and sort of brute force shove them in, but they theoretically could be. The 5th one's hard. I don't think that there's a way to brute force heart. I don't think there's a way to brute force people really subscribing, really personally engaging and falling in love with the work that they do, falling in love with the purpose of the organization, falling in love with being there as a member of that community, showing up for their community brothers and sisters that are standing next to them day after day, engaging in these projects and serving their customers. That's what Common Heart is. Common Heart is I've truly subscribed to the purpose. I truly believe in, Andrew standing here or Michelle standing here, to borrow from the names in the show already. I truly believe in us as a community working together, succeeding together because of the fact that we keep showing up. We keep maintaining that amazing connection, that community equity. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So those are 5 keys. So we're going to dig into this a little bit more, and I want to talk to you a little bit about also community outside and sort of the business ecosystem. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. We do this through our Small Business Pro University, where we help to entrepreneurs and business owners to learn, profit, and grow. But here's a quick 1-minute video just highlighting sort of what we do. And then I'll be back talking small business with Lucas Root. Do you own your business or does it own you? Is your business growing and are you making enough money? As a business owner, there are so many things you need to know to become more successful. Hello, my name is Andrew Frazier, the Business Growth Pro and CFO. I created the Small Business Pro University for you. Small Business Pro University has self-paced, dynamic, multimedia learning experiences created by more than 20 instructors who are business owners just like you. Small Business Pro University will empower you to become a masterpreneur by learning the secrets to creating a successful enterprise, to go from working in your business to working on your business. Take advantage of our strategic coaching program or just simply choose the courses that you need. At www.sbprou.com, we will empower you to thrive and not just survive and make more money in any business environment. Okay, welcome back. I'm here with Lucas Root, talking small business. The topic this evening is the importance of community and your connections. We've talked a lot about what we can do internally for our businesses and teams and employees. But also, it's not just internally. As a small business, you actually have an ecosystem around you, or you need to if you don't. And, how do you build that? How do you get value and make it valuable, in terms of building your external community as well?
I love it. So after I launched my consulting business, I had these ideas, this community. I started working with people and really starting to see some incredible value showing up from the approach that we were taking. Right? It's the people. It's the community equity of people building together that really creates long-term value. And so I was inspired, and I bought 2 retail flooring stores. True. And I now own 2 retail flooring stores. And one of the things that I've noticed about being a small business owner, a small business retail owner, is that even when you have employees that love you, that show up with care and honor and really do their work with pride, their day still ends. Their day ends. Their responsibilities end, and they're going to be more willing to flex with the business if they're subscribed, if they love the work that they're doing, if they love the purpose that they're building towards, the product that they're serving, and the customer that's receiving it. Right? They're going to be more willing to flex, but it's still just flex. Their day ends. Their responsibility ends. At the end of the day, that's the thing that matters to all of us. Right? At the end of the day, you're the person that needs to be bringing in the business. Your customers will show up if you do a good job of building that story in the wider community. Your customers will show up if you help them see how the product that you're serving serves their needs. But it has to be you. In my case, in my retail flooring stores, it has to be me. And yes, I have sales staff, and they plumb their own network, but they don't grow their network, and there's nothing I can do to make them. It has to be me. It has to be me that goes to networking events and says, come check us out, real estate owner. Come check us out, contractor. Come check us out, insurance salesperson. And here's the thing.
Okay.
In order for it to be community, it has to be value for both of us. If you're a customer to me and you're buying something from you, remember what I said before. That's just subsistence value. That's base level. People can replace that. That's forgettable. So you have to drive value to these people that's above and beyond forgettable subsistence. That's above and beyond what they can get if they just quit you and go next door. And that's true as a customer. That's true as a community member. That's true of your employees. So you have to come up with ways to create value that's incredibly powerful to them. Example of this.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down with a real estate agent about 3 weeks ago, and I said, you are the ideal person for everyone who has bought a house from you to make sure that they have great service providers for all the things that they're going to need in their house. It's November. It's It's cleaning your roof month. Here are the 3 different roof cleaners in the area that I think are great. Give them a call. It's December. It's take care of your electricity month, because we're all going to be over draining our electricity. And if ever there was going to be a fire from electricity, now's the time. Here are the different ways that this electrician can serve you to make sure that you're not going to over drain your power and you're not going to set yourself up for a fire. And he was like, damn, dude. That's driving value. Now, he's never going to buy floors from anyone else ever again because I gave him something that nobody else did.
So a lot of times, in a lot of businesses, one of the ways they do that is through experience. I've had a client who, was a candle maker and sold candles, but she made more money from candle parties than ever selling candles. And it's the same candles, but wrapping the experience around it made all the difference in the world.
I love it. Yeah.
So okay. So really
talking about
adding value, people would come to, not only would you get a candle, you'd learn to make a candle, you'd meet new people, you'd enjoy the atmosphere, and so just overall, no other candle store is necessarily going to bring that together for you. So at the end of the day, you always remember that, because you probably heard, people aren't going to remember what you said, but they're always going to remember how you made them feel. So I think that,
right? Yeah.
So cool. So you're talking about the ecosystem and value back and forth. I'm a small business owner. Not really well connected. How do I develop an ecosystem? Where do I go? What should I try and do?
Yeah. Awesome question. The short answer is go where the people that you want to spend time with are hanging out. But that's just a short answer. You got to dig into that a little bit more. Are you the kind of person that likes to get physical and go outside and go for hikes? Join the local outdoors club, and there probably is one. Join a local outdoor working out club. You're going to have to go looking for it, but there probably is one. Are you the kind of person who really likes to get into craft beer, really get into craft beer? Well, figure out where people are going when they're getting into craft beer and go show up and have some fun with the people that are getting into their craft beer. Figure out what it is that's really, really enticing to you. Why? Because you need that additional value to keep showing up and keep doing the work. It's that value thing. What is it that's enticing? What will draw you back over and over again? What will draw you out of your shell while you're there? Because you're so invested in the process. You're so invested in the thing that you're there to do. Those are the things you need to be spending more time doing. And yes, if getting into craft beer is your thing, then yes, what I'm telling you to do is go drinking.
Okay. So, basically, sort of building relationships, but along the lines of something that you're passionate about, and so you can be authentic in the process.
So you can show up over and over again and be consistent.
Okay, and want to do that, and also
you, Andrew, you've discovered that you really enjoy having these conversations. So you started yourself a little podcast, Live at 805. Because you love having these conversations, you found a way to drive value to an audience who's going to end up buying from you because you love having these conversations. This is a perfect example of using an inherent value to you that creates the opportunity for consistency. You're doing a thing you love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. I guess I better love it. I've been doing it for 2.5 years every week. So, but I do enjoy it a lot. So, another comment example from Dr. Michelle. Let me just pull it up. Um, and I think this matches up with what you said in terms of the need to change your mindset and values. Um, and that's a little bit counterintuitive to the way we live these days, because it's more virtual and disconnected rather than relationship focused. Um,
It's an amazing comment, though. She is so right.
yes, yeah. Well, she is a doctor, professor of business, so she's pretty sharp. But yeah, doctor, definitely very very insightful because you know being able to do that on your end just puts you at an advantage because you're providing value that others aren't.
Hmm.
So,
Yep. And it works.
mhm.
It works. And it's fun while you do it because you're choosing an activity that brings you back over and over again. Like it works and it's fun.
Mhm, mhm.
Why wouldn't we do that?
Right, right. No, and plus, you want to really be able to be where the people who value what you do are also. One of my clients, made dolls, and she would sell them a lot of places, but wouldn't get the results that she wanted.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, who are the people that really want dolls, and where do you find them? So then she started going to doll conferences, and she would sell out,
Whoa.
because she was passionate about it, but she was, in some places she couldn't get someone to buy a doll. But at the conferences, so definitely that's key. So
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
yeah, so just something interesting finding out. So thanks again for your comments, Dr. Michelle, and definitely, and we got to get you on the show, Dr. Michelle. Just
Oh,
uh, you know, but definitely. So so Lucas, when we're thinking about this, one of the things even in my book, you know, at the end of the day, most of your challenges and problems are business are because of you. So what could you do to make yourself be better, in terms of connecting and building community? Looking at, if you're looking at yourself in the mirror, what should we look for, and how can we improve ourselves?
such a powerful question. Um, I would start by looking at the way that you fill your day and figure out what of the pieces that you're filling your day with are things that you're really passionate about, because probably those are the things you're going to be doing the best anyway. And find a way to offload all of the things that you don't have to do yourself, right? There are some things that just has to be me, even if I'm not passionate about it. And I get that. You don't have to do yourself and you're not passionate about. Those are the two categories that you should be focused on keeping. And anything that doesn't fall into it has to be me or I'm passionate about it. Off, done. Somebody else can do it. Once you've freed up brain space and calendar space, don't start filling it with busy work. How many times has somebody called you up and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And you say, "I'm busy." You know what I'm busy means? It means I don't want to talk to you. It means that you're not a priority for me right now. Now, replay that conversation, but instead of it being somebody, a friend, family member, somebody who knows you, you know them, it's your most important customer, and they call you up and they say, "Hey, how you doing?" What's your answer now? Is it "I'm busy"? No, it's not. It's a totally different answer. Why? Because this person's important to you. Reverse engineer that. What you're saying to somebody when you say "I'm busy" is "you're not important." Let that settle in. You're not important.
Mm,
So now you've got freedom. You've got some calendar freedom, some schedule freedom, some brain freedom. Don't fill it up with busyness.
Okay.
Instead, fill it up with the things that you're passionate about and with people that you can share that passion with, so that you can, as you said, Andrew, be authentic, so that you can be engaged, so that you can be consistent.
hmm
Mhm.
So, so you talked about, um, in your business, you're really the person who has to go out and build relationships and meet people,
Yep.
and and it's your business, so of course that makes sense, but there's a limit to what you can do there. Um, you seem to be comfortable with that, but were you always comfortable, or did you develop a comfort level? And if because a lot of business owners, they're regular people. Some of them are shy, some of them are, what would you do to encourage people to be able to better do that more successfully?
Good question. Yes, I've always been comfortable talking to people. However, I'm a homebody. As comfortable as I am talking to somebody, striking up a conversation, having a meaningful connection, I would choose to be at home on the couch with my wife 10 times out of 9. I said that wrong. 11 times out of 10. What I had to start doing was valuing the way that I spend my time. And I do value the time with my wife on the couch. I really do. Or the other places that we spend our time together. I also value the lifestyle that we live together and how I'm able to contribute to that. I value creating value in the community. I value the jobs that I can provide. I value the amazing product that I can serve to the customers who actually love receiving that product. That's true with me as a consultant. That's true me speaking about community with you right now, and that's true with me as a small business owner in retail. So I had to change the way that I value things. And when I changed the way that I value things, what I found was I started looking for opportunities to have coffee dates with people, to have lunch dates with people, to go to networking events, not just networking events, but the ones that were in alignment with me, the ones that were interesting, exciting, the ones that would draw me back so I could be consistent. That's the key.
Okay. Okay. So,
Oh,
all right. So time usually gets away from us. So we're about 7 minutes till.
Okay.
But before we wrap up, a couple things. Dr. Michelle had a question about ecosystems and should there be specific roles? Should you look to incorporate certain roles or certain partners in your ecosystem? How do you see it?
Such a cool question. Yes, ecosystems should have a role. Not because I like siloing. I actually hate siloing, and we talked about that earlier in this episode. The more that we can create an opportunity for crossover, the stronger your business is going to be, and that's what community is ultimately. Is people that show up for each other, not because it's their responsibility, but because they really care and want to. Um, but having roles for your ecosystems makes it so much easier to keep track of it. And let's be honest, the more complex things get, the more you're going to be like, "Ah, I just can't deal with it anymore." Not like drama, but like, really, I just can't deal with it anymore. So, rule of thumb, rule of thumb, avoid things that get you out. Avoid things that run you away. Avoid things that get to the point where you're just like, I just can't do this anymore. And from that perspective, I think the ecosystems are really valuable if they have roles because it makes it easier to keep track of. Now, you have to be vigilant. You have to be vigilant in your own life. I'm guilty of this myself sometimes, where you create those boxes in your mind for simplicity, for ease, just like I was just talking about. And end up with a scenario where you're stopping crossover that would have been really valuable. Fortunately, I have a wife who really likes to be involved in my life. It's amazing. And from time to time, she'll bump into the walls of my ecosystem and remind me, hey, there's a wall there. You need to take that down. You need to let people pass through. You need to make that a permeable barrier so that that continues to build into community and not silo. How's that?
Sounds good. Sounds good. So before we close out, usually like to ask the guests to share 3 things that people should definitely take away from what we talked about, because sometimes you can only remember 3 things. That they can start using tomorrow. But before we do that, I just want to share something that's very exciting coming out through the university. So we actually have something coming very soon. We're actually going to be launching our Small Business Pro University community, which is actually, we're going to make it into the ultimate business ecosystem for entrepreneurs. We're growing a space and making connections, and it's going to be outstanding. Not only will you learn, but you will be able to build relationships. It'll be about helping you build your network. We'll have events and resources, and of course, we're a university, so we teach and have outstanding training and resources around those sides. So we're actually going to be building the community. We're testing it now. We've got 50 people in the community. Our goal by the end of January is to have 1,000 people in the community, to really make it a community for entrepreneurs and business owners, not just around here, but nationally and even internationally. So very excited about really taking on that challenge and an opportunity. So we're going to be officially launching January 3rd on our live stream, January 3rd. So for the new year, we invite you to join our Small Business Pro University community, which is free. So you can't beat that. And then we have opportunities to get access to additional stuff. So definitely looking forward to it. So, but before we get out of here, definitely, Lucas, if you want to take a sec to share 3 things, that would be great.
Thank you. By the way, that is so cool. Congratulations. 3 things. So number 1, look for more opportunities to make meaningful connections in your life. Just opportunities that are sitting there waiting for you to be plucked. Low-hanging fruit. Number 2, look for the places where you can passionately engage in community, right? Because that passion is what's going to bring you back. It's going to keep you connected. It's going to create that consistency. Number 3, both of those things create more meaningful connections, passionately engage. That applies inside your business. That also applies outside your business. So how can you create more meaningful connections with your employees? How can you encourage more meaningful connections intra-employee? How can you passionately engage in your business? How can you encourage passionate engagement in your business? How can you bring the stakeholders from outside of your business? How can you create more engagement with the stakeholders outside of your business, your customers, your vendors, anybody who's a stakeholder? How can you create more passion in your business with the stakeholders? So those are the 3 things.
Right. So no, great. So meaningful connections, passionate engagement, and internal and external focus. Excellent. And definitely this has been a pleasure. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you do a lot of stuff, so I'm glad that you were able to come share with us this evening, and wish you much success in the things that you continue to do. Hang out for a second while I close out, and I'll chat with you in a minute. So
thank you, Andrew.
Okay, thanks again, Lucas. Okay, well, once again, we had a great session here at Leadership Live at 8:05. I always appreciate everybody hanging out and asking your questions, putting your comments in. This is we do this for you. So, well, I do it for me too, because I always learn stuff and I enjoy it, but I really want to make sure it's valuable for you to keep you engaged and wanting to come back. So, definitely always open to feedback, comments, and ideas. And, definitely wish you guys much success. The holidays are coming up and, it's a busy time of year. But definitely, it's important to keep these things in mind and continually be learning, and that's what this is all about. So, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster and more successfully your business will grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.